everyone, and welcome back to another edition of the SportsKhabri podcast. I am joined once again by Chiranjit Ojha, who is a lifelong Mohun Bagan fan and an assistant editor and podcaster at the Fan Garage. Chiranjit, thank you so much for joining us once again. And you joined us a few months back, and that is the very same topic that we'll be broaching upon again today. So, ATK Mohan Bagan. It is what it is. I have to start it out by saying that officially it is the name of the club, and the most important thing that we talked about at the start of the ISL season was the Remove ATK campaign, what it represented for the fans, and how the management of the club has resulted to it, and what even the club is. Is it Mohan Bagan? Is it ATK? We discussed all of these topics. So let's dive straight into it and let's talk about it. We talked about this at the start of the season. The season is now coming to a close. What has happened? What has been happening? How has the ATK movement, the remove ATK movement, panned out?
Well, we have had a lot of discussions between the different fan clubs, and we were hoping to sort of arrive at a united front, which has not really happened so much. But the one unanimous thing that the fan clubs have done is that everybody has arrived at the decision that let's go with a boycott, right? And not necessarily everybody agrees with that. Not necessarily all the fan clubs agree with that. As you know, it's a very decentralized situation. Unlike most of the ISL clubs that you see, Bengaluru FC has West Block Blues, Kerala Blasters has Manjapada, Mumbai City have West Coast Brigade, I think. So those are the main drivers of the fan base, right? Here it's 20, 30 different fan clubs who sort of sometimes act as a loose collective who have also, different issues between themselves. So it's a much more complicated scenario. But so far, what they are deciding is that let's go with a boycott. So you are not seeing the artwork, the fan club logos, the innovative slogans, the chants, uh, the songs that were happening throughout the season before. Uh, those are not there anymore at the matches, and if I may say so, although I have not been to a single game because I am also part of that boycott, uh, it's it's a bit of a dead atmosphere happening in Salt Lake Stadium right now. Of course, the league season ended with the Derby, which has a higher rate of casual uh, attention, if I may say so. Even somebody who does not pay attention to anything else and does not really watch other matches throughout the season, they're going to take some time and watch the Derby, and they may even buy a ticket. And so the situation that creates is even if 99% of the fans are saying that we're not going to go to the stadium, the rest of 1% is going to be, pretty big in number. But what we have seen is that the league games, the normal league games, which don't have the hype like a derby or a ISL semi-final, they have seen very low attendance. Some have been like in hundreds, which is like crazy. Although the Odisha FC home game, they KGSPL claimed that it was 15,000 people who showed up. You can see in the pictures that people posted on Twitter, the panorama pictures. There's not 500 people in the stadium. It's like it's an open secret that the numbers are beefed up. And what has happened this time, which never happened before, not even in the first derby of the season, heavy amounts of free ticket distribution, which came out in different social media accounts talked about this. I think a couple of independent media outlets also talked about this. Even Nagorik.net reported that they were using apparently certain political party cadre to distribute free tickets, which is crazy. It should never happen because Kolkata Derby is the ticket that sells for 15 times the price in the black market, right? You don't get it. You struggle to get a ticket, and here they did not sell out to begin with, and they ended up having to get people to show up and watch the match, which is, I mean, I never thought I would see this in my life, even with a boycott. No matter how many times, how many people say like we're gonna have a boycott, a Kolkata derby is supposed to have a full house, unless like the only times where the Kolkata derby has not been a full sellout in the past was when either the police had some issues with it, or we had an issue with too many tickets being purchased by black marketers. So I think this was an issue back in 2017-18, that season, that way too many tickets were purchased by people who wanted to sell it in the black market, and they ended up not selling as many. So it was less than the capacity. And I think 2013, uh, the first couple of derbies, we had a lot of restriction on the attendance numbers from the police, because we had the rioting in the stadium in December 2012. So looking at it overall, the attendance throughout the season, the kind of engagement that you see with the team, it's even sad for us to see that it's very much hitting the rock bottom. And as the time goes on, if they don't reconcile with the fan clubs, if they don't remove the ATK prefix and make it clear that yes, this is Mohun Bagan, this is the team that you have been supporting all your lives, uh, it's going to get worse, unfortunately. Even if the fans are not there, they're present in their absence. So that's where we are.
And coming to the ATK management, have they tried to talk to the ultra groups, or any fan groups of that don't recognize themselves as the ultras? Has there been any attempt on the management part to have any kind of communication? Because we talked the last time we talked, we mentioned how there is a complete lack of communication from the management part, which further adds to the issue that the fans have, that they need clarification as to what the club is supposed to be at this point. And a lack of communication from the management was one of the core things. Has that changed at all? Like, have they tried talking to the fan groups in any way to reach upon an agreement regarding whether the ATK prefix stays or not?
Of course, they have not talked about the prefix itself, and it has not been directly from KGSPL. So, what was happening? Let me take you a few months back. I think in 2022, when the AFC Cup qualifier matches were happening in Salt Lake Stadium, people were showing up to protest. It was not a outright boycott yet from the fan clubs. And what was happening as a result of that was that a lot of the people who were in the forefront of the fan clubs, uh, they apparently received threats, and a couple of them had goons show up at their house. And of course, they're not going to come out and speak publicly about this for their own reasons. But it was after they faced like certain incursions in their own personal lives, that a lot of the fan clubs started saying like, okay, let's just go with the boycott route, and not just be there. And interestingly, this whatever interference they were claiming, they said this was not coming from KGSPL, right? This is not coming from like people who ran ATKFC. This was coming from the Mohun Bagan Athletic Club structure and the political elements within. So yeah, that in a way it was a good cop bad cop situation that was being played on them. So first, like some threats and some inconveniences, or not even like direct threats. They would like insinuate something, that this is not going to be good for you. And some of them were, maybe they held membership cards which were with the family, right? Like the people who are members of Mohun Bagan Athletic Club, they prize that membership card. It's like, okay, my grandfather was a member, my father was a member, I'm a member. It's a familial heritage. So somebody comes and says like, we're going to cancel your membership card because you participated in a protest, right? It can have an effect. So all these things were happening, and it was happening from the Mohun Bagan Athletic Club structure. And also, then there was a good cop element, as I said, that they were told, okay, the ATK prefix is going to get removed. You don't have to worry about it. We're on it. We're going to make sure that it gets done. You just don't create any trouble for us. Trust us, whatever. Of course, like it's not like these fans are have a huge amount of trust on the Mohun Bagan officials. Even before KGSPL came, there were lots of tussles between the fan clubs and the Mohun Bagan officials. So there's no love lost between them. It's always been a kind of a keep each other accountable kind of relationship between the official and the fans. So yeah, that's what was being communicated. And interestingly, the Mohun Bagan officials went public with it. Something that we were hearing last year, that the legal process to remove the ATK prefix was completed. This year, we started hearing the same thing publicly from Devashish Dotto and others, that the paperwork is done. We're just waiting for Sanjeev Goenka to announce it. So if the paperwork was done last year, like what stopped them? They could have come out and said like, oh hey, if this is really happening, come out and say that we're going to remove the prefix. Then we would have had a pretty happy season. They probably would have stopped the boycott immediately if this was like communicated properly. But that communication has not happened. No one has seen anything uh, in a concrete way that the ATK prefix will be removed for sure. So no one can be sure. So yeah, that's the thing. And I don't know. So the same assurances were being given by designing new logos for the team, and they picked one which was pretty much like the classic Mohun Bagan logo, and they arrived at the name Mohun Bagan Super Giants. Then, for a number of reasons, they changed their mind. You know, for what exact reason I can't say, but apparently Mohun Bagan Super Giants, maybe it was too big, so they chose a different name, which was not as big, which was Mohun Bagan Super Giant. You can imagine it's a much smaller name. So that's a if you hear what's being said inside the ecosystem, that's going to be the name in the future. But again, how are you gonna trust them? They told us that it was gonna get done last year, but it did not get done. So there's no trust, there's no clarity in communication, and no one is out there putting all the cards on the table, right? I mean, KGSPL can come and say we are never going to remove the ATK prefix. They can, if they say that, we will appreciate that. Okay, this is your position. Then let's talk about breaking the deal. Uh, they're not going to do that. Mohun Bagan officials are not putting out any proof in public domain. There have not been any document leaks, which was happening in 2020. That people were saying it's a merger of two clubs, and all of a sudden, conveniently, documents kept getting leaked that showed that okay, this is not a merger of two clubs. This is Mohun Bagan with an ATK brand prefix, and this is playing with Mohun Bagan's registration and so on and so forth. So if if the people who are in the power structure want things to be out, they can get it out, but they have not. So who knows? Maybe they're telling the truth. Maybe they're not telling the truth. We will find out in a few months.
Right. So when we last talked about this ATK thing, you pointed out that if the management would have been honest from the get go, if they would have been communicative from the get go, you wouldn't have had an issue with the ATK prefix. But the fact that the ATK prefix exists represents something about the ownership, the lack of communication, the lack of clarification as to whether this is the generation old club that people have followed for
No,
ages and ages
Anshuman,
and ages, or
If
whether this is
uh, Anshuman, if I may just
yeah.
give a little bit of clarity on that, it's not even that the ATK prefix is there. If they
Mhm.
had come out and said on day one that hey, this is the Mohun Bagan football team registration that is being used, Mohun Bagan's history is being carried forward, then I don't think a remove ATK movement would have happened. Because when they came on board and announced this is going to be the name of the team, no one was saying like, hey, you can't do this. We were saying like, okay, McDowell used to have the prefix, you want to have the prefix, okay. That was the position, near unanimous position from us. It was only when like they started using the former ATKFC third kit, they tried to sneak that into this team. They were having using that branding on the sleeve that said like defending champions from last season's ISL and all that stuff. Only that thing started causing the uproar because they were coming after our identity and our history. So it, and it was definitely not a straightforward communication, and it was not honesty from them.
Yeah.
That they can never say at this today that they dealt with us honestly, right? So
Mhm.
yeah, that's the thing. It's been a lack of honesty. It's been a lack of transparency, and they are using obfuscation as a tool. They're not coming out and saying that hey, we want our ATK brand to be there always. Come out and say that, then we can that would be the basis of the next discussion. But you're not saying you're not going to remove. You're not saying you're going to remove. You're using doubt as a tool to divide the fan base and have a status quo which is definitely not sustainable in the long term. So that it's hurting everybody. It's hurting KGSPL. The ticket sales are pretty much down in the dumps. Their merchandise sales are down in the dumps. I mean, if you remember, initially the jersey, the official merchandise was selling at number 1 on Amazon. It was trending, which never happens. No Indian football jersey was happening. Then the cricket merchandise disappeared from the charts. And now no one is even buying. It just disappeared from the charts. And now no one is even buying. Even if you see the ISL zoom ins on the fans and all the pictures they publish of the fans who show up, they're wearing this logo, Mohun Bagan Athletic Club. All their jerseys have this logo, not the ATK Mohun Bagan logo. Because which shows this is not the official merchandise. They got a knockoff which has the same design but replaces the ATK Mohun Bagan logo with Mohun Bagan Athletic Club logo. So they're losing out on the money.
Mhm.
This is a lucrative fan base. It buys merchandise. And after the funny thing is, after the football merchandise disappeared from the charts, they introduced like Mohun Bagan Athletic Club introduced the cricket merchandise. This jersey. Let me just show you. Uh, yeah, this shirt, right? It's the Test cricket shirt, just a plain white design, but it's got this. It's got the Mohun Bagan Athletic Club logo. So this one became the number one thing. It's not like the most of the fans can't even name 5 players who are on our cricket team, but they're buying the cricket jersey. Why? Because of the logo. All this could have gone to KGSPL. All that money. What to do? We're saying take our money. We want to spend on tickets. We want to spend on merchandise. They're saying no, no, no. We don't want your money. You go buy some knockoff. We want our brand. Fine. You know, we're gonna vote with our wallet. So yeah, that's it's hurting them. It's hurting us. It's hurting the club in the long run because the more time passes, the deeper the distrust grows, and the more time it's going to take to bridge them back together. So yeah,
Yeah. So a lot of things that you have mentioned nicely brings us to the next question that I wanted to ask, because all of this started with a lack of clarity. They're using obfuscation as a tool. They don't want to come out and be honest about anything, and it's not only hurting the fans in a lot many ways. Financially, this is hurting the ATK ownership as well. And you mentioned the part where the fans are going to go and buy the Test cricket shirt. They are not going to buy the official shirt as long as the as long as we can get the original logo intact. So all of these things, and the fact that you mentioned that there was an idea that okay, we'll remove the ATK, we'll make it Mohan Bagan Super Giants. That which makes sense given the fact that that is the suffix they have been using with their cricket
super
franchise names.
giant, super giant.
Yeah,
Anshuman,
yeah.
Anshuman, it's not super giant. It's super giant now because super giants is too
Oh,
long, but super giant is not as
mhm.
long.
Okay. That's so that what that hints at is the fact that the ATK management wants to have their own identity imprinted into the club logo. Like, we are either going to have ATK, if we are not going to have ATK, we are going to have something else. Which brings me to the question about the future of ATK and its involvement in the Mohun Bagan fraternity. Because you point out the fact that this remove ATK movement, the protest, the boycott that has been going on financially, it's hurting KPMG to such a point that this is not sustainable. In the long run, this cannot continue. This cannot be a case where 30, 40 years down the line, KPMG is still here, they are still continuing, ATK Mohan Bagan is still a thing. So, if it is not sustainable, is there a possibility of the ATK management to just walk away from the club entirely? And we need to keep in mind that ATK arrived in the first place because of financial the issues that the club was having in the first place. So, is there a possibility of ATK walking away altogether, saying that okay, we'll find our own solution elsewhere? You can be Mohan Bagan in a financial trouble, but you can be Mohan Bagan. Can they walk away altogether? And if they do walk away altogether, given how deep the senior men's team is performing currently, given the fact that they are in the ISL final, is there a potential of not just taking into account the fact that this is one of the most prestigious clubs in the world, period? So, is there a possibility of someone else arriving and taking a majority stakeholdership in the club and saving the club for what could be potentially be financial ruin? So, in general, what does the future hold for Mohan Bagan?
Yeah. So there is definitely a possibility, and trying has not arrived yet. So we are losing faith in them, and to have this drama, let's just get out and you have your own ATKFC. We will make do with our Mohan Bagan. So yeah, they should. I think they should get out. It's definitely a lot less trouble for everybody. It's a lot less jhamela for everybody. Uh, and uh, so the reason the deal happened in the first place is because there was a lot of permutation combination happening because of the franchisee structure of Indian Super League. Right? There were rumors that ISL did not want three clubs from Kolkata. They wanted two. And so first they were also talking to East Bengal. KGSPL was talking to East Bengal, but that deal did fell through. Then there were certain higher up people from federation or somewhere else came and told KGSPL and Mohun Bagan to talk to each other, see if you can work something out. And this was happening in 2019, right after the roadmap for the Indian football clubs was agreed in Malaysia. Right. So what happened in the roadmap was they said that the franchisee system of ISL was going to get removed. There will be promotion relegation, and in the future, like it will be full meritocratic. So there will be no control from FSDL on which city has how many teams and who has a franchisee slot, so to speak. It would be pretty much open to everybody. At that time, I think KGSPL sort of did a calculation was that if things get opened up, if the leagues open up, East Bengal and Mohun Bagan would definitely be in ISL. So ATKFC would not be a viable project going forward. And that was the decision that they arrived at. And that's why they even considered, shutting that team down and investing in something else, which happened. I think the decision was taken in late 2019, and it was announced in 2020. The 2020 is known around the world for a lot of good news. So this was our good news, uh, our piece of 2020. So yeah, I think it was a realization from KGSPL that the ATK brand itself was not going to sustain a team. They needed Mohun Bagan if they wanted to have popularity, if they wanted to have revenue. So and the few factors played a role in Mohun Bagan ultimately going with KGSPL because there were other options on the table. I don't know if I said this last time. Apparently, a bank was very close to inking a deal with Mohun Bagan uh, either late 2018 or early 2019. But the ISL franchisee slot availability was an issue. So, that was a roadblock in the deal, and some other factors that did not ultimately go through. Some other companies were also talking, and KGSPL's advantage was that it had the ISL franchisee slot, right? You do a deal with KGSPL, you play directly in ISL. It's a guarantee. You don't have to bid again, and you don't have to come in as in go through the whole process of acquiring it and approval or disapproval. You are already there. So uh, that played a big role, and also the Bosu family who were in charge of Mohun Bagan at that point, they are old friends of Sanjeev Goenka. I think Sinjoy Bosu was part of the ATKFC board of directors in the past as well. I think we're talking some 2015, 2016. So there was a bit of trust. They chalked up whatever deal that they thought was going to be beneficial for both parties. And by both parties, I think they thought of themselves, not Mohun Bagan fans. If Mohun Bagan fans had found out what exactly the terms were going to be, that it was going to be called a merger of two clubs in a press release, yeah, they were going to have a lot of things to say about that. But yeah, they got it done during the lockdowns. Yeah, so it was much later during the pandemic that the first few protests took place. So what we need to understand is that within 3-4 years, the Indian football landscape will look a lot different commercially, right? So if you want to invest in a club like Mohun Bagan, you don't need an ISL franchisee slot. You don't need a budget of 50 crore or 40 crore. You don't need to pay 15 crore every year just to play in the top league of the country. Uh, that would be the reality, which means any future investor who wants to come in and invest in Mohun Bagan will have a very less buy-in investment. Maybe we can make do on a budget of 20 crores. 15 crores is more than enough to actually be competitive in ISL if you sign your players in a smart way. So it's more than possible for Mohun Bagan to find somebody else. It would be much easier than in the past. Of course, Mohun Bagan are already an established brand within the ISL now, which makes things even more easy. And yeah, if it just depends on what KGSPL want. If KGSPL think even for a second that ATKFC can work on its own, I think they would prefer that. They will have to deal with a lot less drama. They won't have to deal with fans like us who don't care about whether you're in the final or not, whether you're winning the trophy or not. We're just like, even if you sign Messi, we're gonna say remove ATK. You know, so uh, that's they would have their own thing. They can do their own thing. They can grow a fan base in the next 15, 20 years if they can. But yeah, that would be the preferable outcome. That should be something they should consider. And from what I was hearing, that back in 2021, people close to Sanjeev Goenka were telling him that why are you dealing with this Jamela? Get out of Mohun Bagan. And it was his decision not to get out. So yeah, that option is always there for them. There are three exit clauses in the deal. There's a mutual exit clause. I should not divulge too much about conversations that happen behind the scenes. But to multiple KGSPL people, I have even said, like, you want to get out via mutual thing, you should just communicate to the fans. Tell the fans that, hey, we want to break the deal. Mohun Bagan officials are delaying the process. Then we can just forget about you and we can target Mohun Bagan officials. That, hey, let them get out. Don't delay the uh, breakup of the deal. So yeah, if they want our help in breaking up the deal, we are more than happy to provide it. But yeah, if they want to leave, more than welcome. We will say bye bye on the door. We'll even throw them a party, a goodbye party, and thank them for leaving. So that's the situation for us. from the Mohun Bagan perspective.
Well, when you point out the fact that Mohan Bagan got in KGSPL an ISL slot when they came on board, which is something that the other parties did not have on their hand. And ATK in turn looked at Mohan Bagan and thought, well, this was a fantastic financial opportunity for us to get such a big brand on board. This has not been working out for them as well, as like we have already broached upon. But the very fact that the landscape of Indian football is changing, and this franchise model, at the mandate of a franchise slot, will stop being a thing in like 2 3 years, as the I League and the I League to become a part of the football pyramid. And relegation and promotion becomes a thing. I think it's safe to assume in the short, in the long term, like at some point, ATK would like to move on and just get a thing where they don't have to deal with any of this, and they can actually uh, uh, do a whole thing on their own, like they did with it, Atletico de Kolkata, and actually were successful and had a lot of positive outlook instead of all the things that they're having to deal with at the moment. So that brings me to the final question, because off-pitch issues have been there since day one, from the moment ATK arrived. But come this Sunday, ISL final, Mohun Bagan are playing Bengaluru. There is a discussion that we continue to have and will probably continue to having, as to how much of this is the ATK or how much of this is Mohun Bagan. But as we stand, Mohun Bagan are going to play the final with Bengaluru. How are you feeling about it? Are you feeling about incredibly passionate, or is that part of you that is already very conflicted regarding the identity of this club that is playing on fire on Sundays taking over, and you don't feel as great about this? But yeah, I just wanted to get your thoughts on the final that we have, in which Mohun Bagan are a participant.
Yeah, well, I won't be watching the match, and I'm sad about it. Of course, Mohun Bagan playing Bengaluru is a emotional thing for us. We were there uh, in Kantirava in 2015, and it was a do or die game, and it's one of the most cherished football memories of my life. Just securing the league title at the last moment, and partying with the team afterwards in the team hotel, and it was something else. Hopefully, the team gets to repeat that feat. Win the playoffs, get the trophy. That this is nothing against, like, the whole remove ATK movement is focused on the management. We're not against the team. We're not against the players. Even if we're not watching, we're hoping for them to win every single day. And we just every single time, after the match, check the scores, and if we have a win, okay, huge relief. Okay, we got one more in. So yeah, uh, hope hope for the victory. Hope for an ISL playoff cup. It's a very weird in terms of the National League continuation, because the playoff cup, as you know, is not the National League title. If the league shield is the national, if you win the league shield, that counts as a National League win. Uh, this they will call them ISL champion, but I don't know what exactly ISL champion means in terms of Indian football structure. Maybe we can call this the League Cup winner, which is okay, I guess. Have one more trophy is one more trophy. So yeah, hopefully we get to welcome the team. I'm sure, like, a lot of the fan clubs have their own ideas about how they're going to show up at the airport, and make themselves heard, and uh, get their message across to the team and the management. But yeah, in terms of what happens on the pitch, it's always, we're praying for a win. And Yeah, so I think let me just do something which will be unpopular with Mohun Bagan fans. I'll end by quoting Devashish Dotto, who is the general secretary of Mohun Bagan Athletic Club right now, and he's part of the board of directors at ATK Mohun Bagan. He said that the best outcome for everybody is that we win the ISL playoff final, we become champions, we win the trophy, and then Sanjeev Goenka announces that the ATK prefix will be removed. That he said that would be the perfect outcome, and the most he used the Bengali word shubho, I think, which is the most auspicious outcome for everyone. So yeah, on a rare occasion, let me agree with Mr. Devasis Dotto and say that let's hope for that same auspicious outcome.
Perfect. So, in any case, guys, if you want to listen to the discussion that we had regarding the final, we recently posted it on our YouTube channel. It's accessible, and please go check it out if you like more. If you like this one, please give it a like and do let us know that where we can do better and what else we can cover. That's it for this episode of the Sports Kabri podcast. We will be back soon with another topic. Charanjit, I hope to speak to you soon once again. And I hope that things look better for Mohun Bagan in due time. If my word means anything, I think they will in due time because Mohun Bagan is too big an institution to go down or to cease to exist. I think it will prevail. ATK will need to find a new way, a new landing pad for themselves, wherever that may be. So yeah, that's it for today, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.
All right, thank you